Yeah, you heard that right. You read the title right. You heard what I said right. I wrecked my bike. For those of you that don't know me, my name is John Maxwell. I'm a highly trained unprofessional right here at Chattahoochee Harley Davidson. And on this channel, I bring you guys to work with me. So if you want to learn more about Harley Davidson, you should hit the subscribe button right now. So today we are going to... Did you call me a loser? God, I've been catching so much flack about this. So I have really always wanted to talk about what you should expect if you take your bike to a authorized Harley Davidson dealership for wreck repair. I can't speak for every dealership, so really I'm going to tell you how we do it, and I bet it's pretty freaking similar to how everyone else does it. I do plan to talk about what happened for me. No, I wasn't recording, unfortunately, because I would really like to have seen that video. I would have shared it if I had it, but I put my GoPro up. More on that later, but I'll kind of walk through what happened. I'll show you the damage to my bike, and I'll explain the first process of kind of a couple of steps in getting your bike repaired. Man, those poor, beautiful Carlini handlebars all bent up on one side. It's horrible. I guess what makes the most sense is to tell you what I did and just know that that's what's going to happen for you probably. Instead of speaking super generally, and I'll just tell you my experience. Fortunately, I was able to ride my bike back from the accident to the shop and get it dropped off. I had a work order written up, but nothing happened that day. It just got put on the schedule for a time when someone, I don't know who, would do a wreck estimate on this motorcycle until it, got time to actually look at it and mark down all the parts that were damaged and all that stuff. And what happened, I called my insurance company, of course, let them know there was an accident with no injuries. Oh yeah, probably should have opened with that. I'm not hurt, by the way. I turned out okay, it's just the bike was damaged. They asked me a couple questions about that, if anyone else was involved. There wasn't, it's just me. And yeah, I let them know that the bike was already at the shop by the time I'd called them, and they scheduled an adjuster to come out. I gave them the shop phone number, and they keep in touch, and they keep me in the loop on what progress is happening with the bike, even though for me, I already know what's happening. But generally the shop and the insurance company both will keep in touch with each other and the customer to let them know what's going on. At that time, they did inform me that I would be responsible for my deductible and they would cover any additional cost. Speaking of deductibles, I actually managed to pick up a sponsor for this video to help me with that cost. If you've been watching my channel for a long time, you already know about the Cove Commuter speaker. It's an awesome handheld little job. It's got 8 hours of life, which means it lasts for my entire workday, which is perfect because that's how I use it, is around the shop. It has a powerful X-bass subwoofer, which gives it a nice full sound. It will hook up to any Bluetooth 4.1 job, your tablets, your phones, all that good stuff. I sync it up to my phone and play it at the shop. As a matter of fact, the whole shop can hear it, which is nice. This is audio coming from the speaker. As you can see, we've got a pretty decent sized shop. So the fact that even the fella down here has to listen to whatever I want to listen to, look how far away my bike is. It is pretty stinking cool. It also doubles as a speakerphone, and not only has Cove agreed to sponsor this video, but they've also agreed to put out a pretty hefty discount for you guys. The link is down in the description. I encourage you to check it out. Now, it's helpful for the tech and the insurance company, everybody involved, to know what happened in the wreck, how it happened, to know what to include in the estimate. So for me, I'll go ahead and run down what happened, and it's kind of how I knew what to look for on my own bike, which realistically, by the time I picked it up off the side of the road, I kind of already knew what was damaged anyway. It's not really that bad. So we were coming back from the Paris, Texas Bring It Home parade. We went up through Oklahoma and through this nice scenic route of Oklahoma and Arkansas up to Memphis, Tennessee to stay the night. Well, when we got to almost to Tennessee, it was going to start raining, so we pulled off and got gas and put on our rain gear and everything. And when we left, there was this like S of a on-ramp, and when we were pulling up, you could see that it was going to be super slick. It was this like concrete pebble mixture, like a pea gravel mixture. It was just looked slippery. And I looked ahead and saw my lead guy Mike, who, if you saw some of those videos or met me in Paris, is probably with Mike. So I saw him get a little he had a passenger with him all loaded down, so I was a little concerned. So I look back, make sure the guy behind me has left me plenty of space in case something happens, and about the time I looked forward, me and my bike were sliding down the highway, or the on-ramp, whatever. Fortunately, it was on the left side. I was super lucky that I just put on the engine guard. It definitely saved my leg for sure. Though it did kind of hurt that I'd had an engine guard for like 5 days and I'd managed to totally spin it and scratch it and everything. But I was rocking a new pair of boots that a lot of you guys commented on in that video where I installed it. So I like jumped up and was like checking my boots and my rain gear out, make sure I was okay because I'd slid a little bit. My boot apparently never even touched the ground. It's totally fine. For those of you asking though, it's actually the Slayer by a company called Cortec. It's part of their Boulevard collection. We're actually offering it in the shop now. Shameless plug. So my boots are fine, which is good, even though they are made like heavy ankles and stuff. You know, full review coming at a different time. But they're fine. The road was so slick where my shoulder hit the ground wearing the rain gear. Didn't even tear it up at all. But unfortunately, when I came to a stop, I did like smack my head against the ground. So I don't have it with me right now. But my nice showy GTR 2 has all these little but insurance actually does cover gear, so had any of that gotten messed up, they covered it. I am getting a new helmet. Since it has had an impact, you're supposed to replace them if you didn't already know that. So we got a quick look at the bike right here. You got the engine guard, my brand new Ciro highway pegs, actually the rider floorboard, the floorboard mount, which is a spot that a lot of people don't realize. Like, you might wreck your own bike and be like, oh, it's not that bad, there's just a couple things. Well, there's a lot of parts involved that aren't part of what you see. So underneath there, underneath that rider floorboard, you can see that the clamp is actually scratched too. Primary cover and the derby cover both got it. And then of course the saddlebag, which had I had the saddlebag guardrails, it probably would have saved it. I really lucked out that the plastic maintained, so nothing got wet the rest of my trip. Everything was still waterproof. It's just the cosmetic, the leather got torn up on it. So I'm glad for that, because I had a bunch of gear in there that certainly didn't need to get wet. As far as like the primary cover and derby cover getting scratched, that's another aspect that even the insurance adjuster sometimes doesn't know what's involved in replacing that part. They know that the cover needs replaced, but then I know there's also a few gaskets, a drain plug O-ring, and some fluid involved in changing this cover. So it really depends on whether or not you got a motorcycle friendly adjuster or just a guy that's going to write down a bunch of numbers and write a check. So it's important to note that sometimes a shop is a better deal than just having the adjuster come out solo. Both can do the work for most insurance companies. Actually, I don't know if it's most. The better ones are going to send an adjuster out, in my opinion. Some of them are just going to take pictures of stuff and then send you a check based on your pictures, which is not as accurate, I assure you. For example, throw down in the comments right now what you think the damage cost value is of you've already seen everything that's damaged. The handlebars, the engine guard, the highway pegs, the floorboard mount, the primary cover, the derby cover, and the saddlebag. What do you think the number is? Put it in the comments, I'll go get the sheet. Don't forget there is a helmet on there as well. Because the bars are internally wired, the labor is pretty hefty on this job. It's a 6.5 hour repair order. Parts, labor, and the helmet come to $3,899. And the right side of the bike is totally untouched, so it looks totally fine. All in all though, I am thankful that I was with a small group of 4 rather than the giant group that we rode out to Texas with, because, well, it would have been a lot more embarrassing to have a couple dozen people with me. But also David, the guy right behind me, he actually rode behind me the whole time out to Texas as well. He knew to leave some buffer space. He was able to get out of the way. He helped me pick the bike up because it was, whew, they're heavy. And I was a little shaken up, I admit. So thankful he didn't hit me. I'm glad I was wearing the right gear, wearing a helmet. because realistically, as slow speed, 15-20 miles an hour as this crash was, had I not been wearing a helmet, I probably would have been a lot more injured. Thankful for the engine guard. It definitely saved my right leg. Shoulder was sore for a couple of days, but no big deal. And I'm thankful for insurance, because I don't want to pay a full $1,000. But yeah, that's what happened to me. In relation to what you might come into, though, I did mention that we were going to talk about that. So with the information of the wreck, I knew to focus on the left side. I knew that's where it went down, so I wrote all those things down, part numbers, the associated part numbers like that gasket and oil and stuff, submitted that. The insurance adjuster came out, he looked at it, he agreed with my number, cut a check. Well, he didn't write a check, he mails a check in. So my time frame at this point is I drop the bike off, it gets scheduled in, the adjuster made it out a few days after that. So I've been here for about 5 days before we knew the number for the check, like that amount. Took 2 to 3 business days for that check to arrive. For us, and I would think for most shops, we don't order any parts to repair a wreck until the check has come in and the other person has signed for it. It's like my check came in and it was made out to me and the dealership both. So I endorsed it, the dealership endorsed it, and they deposited that check as a deposit on my work order. So then parts get ordered. They take 3 to 5 days for normal parts from Harley Davidson, as long as there's no back orders or anything like that. But if it's a painted part, there is a 30-day lead time on paint. We have had some complaints in the past from customers that say we've kept their bike too long for what it was in for. So that's a lot of why I want to make this video, is if it takes some time between the check arriving and the customer coming in to endorse the check, that's just time that your parts aren't being ordered. We've been burned a few times where once the check shows up, the people want the check and their bike as is. So it's not, you can't order $4,000 to $12,000 worth of parts and then find out that you're just sitting on them. There's not even a bike to put them on anymore, and the person doesn't want it repaired, whatever the case. Bike may turn out totaled, so you can't order parts too early. Have to wait until everything runs through the course or the dealership's left holding the bag. That said, fortunately I don't have any painted parts because I have a Florida Moto meetup to attend in Orlando, so I'm hoping to get this bike put back together and ride it down on November 16th, I think it is, down at Ace Cafe. More information on that coming soon, but the short of it is a time-consuming process to get your bike repaired. If there's painted parts involved, it could be upwards of 4 to 6 weeks. So, you know, don't hound your guys too bad. It's not always their fault that your bike is taking a while. But definitely answer that phone when they call, because they might be calling you to say, hey, come in and endorse the check so that we can start ordering parts. It's really what I want to let you guys know, man. Wrecks are not fast. You get guys come in sometimes, it's just a fender. Well, what if the subframe is bent? You know, your taillight's actually scratched. You didn't even realize that. That fender takes 30 days to come in. So it can be a time-consuming process for sure. There's a lot of information about insurance, additional accessory coverage. A lot of them cover $3,000. My own plan actually covers my motorcycle trailer as well as part of the plan. Lots of stuff with insurance that you really need to be looking into. I think that's it, guys. I'm glad I'm okay. Glad everybody in my group is okay. I'm really glad I didn't have to replace my new boots because it was hell breaking them in. More on that later, like I said. Speaking of later, if you want to see more information like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Tap the bell notification so you know when I upload. If you like this video, make sure to give it a big dirty thumbs up. And if you haven't quite got your fix today, there's a video popping up right here, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.